Hello.
Hello. Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going all right.
Good. How are you?
All right. Good. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. If it's about V-bit cutting, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did my first sort of testing with a V-bit router. It was a 90-degree bit, and I'm getting some weird end point cutting that's happening on corners. And I don't know if I can share my screen. Oh, nope, it says I cannot.
Let's see.
I was just wondering if anybody else has this issue or has seen it before and has resolved it.
I personally have not used any V-bits. I don't know if anyone else has on the M2. Casey, do you use any V-bits?
Yeah, I've used V-bits for simple engraving. I guess I don't see the picture of what he's talking about. What?
Yeah, I also use V-bits. I've had some success with it. Yep.
See, I'm trying to see if I can share that.
Are you getting different depths on your V-bit? Is that what it is?
It kind of seems that way. It also seems like it's when it gets to a corner, it wants to go back into that corner independently and just go straight down, which then rounds the corner out. And then it pushes it out around the straight edge of the corner itself is the best way I can describe it, I think.
So it's almost creating like a dog bone.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, you want to go ahead and try to share your screen now?
Okay.
See if that worked.
Yeah. So let's see if this works here. Can you see my screen here?
Yep.
Okay. So on the left is my vector drawing, and I've got these little rough edges here in these lines, but in the corner, specifically down here, you can see I've got these sharp edges. It's just 1 point here, 1 point here. But when you look at the example, the end result, it does these rounding edges that pushes it out. And it does the same in this area up here. If you can see my cursor, it did the same thing, just like what you described it as a dog bone. It pushed it out in these corners. And I was curious.
Yeah, the reason why it's doing that is because you have it set to do. Did you set the cut to be on the line?
No, I think on those I did cut out the fill.
So you told it to cut inside?
Yes.
Inside, right?
Yep.
And this was in easel, right?
Yes.
And do you have easel Pro, or are you just using a V-bit?
I can do the Pro option 4 times a month, and this was one of those days I chose the Pro.
Okay. So what I want to say, so you did this with Pro and you did it with V-bit and you did clear out the pocket, right?
Yes.
And whenever you chose your bit, you told it what bit you were using?
Yep.
And you chose the right angle on your V-bit.
Yeah, I made sure I got the 90 degrees in there.
Okay, so then there's only 2 things that would cause this, where you're getting your V-bits like this, is it's your original drawing. It actually has a dip out in those. So did you buy this or did you get it from someplace else?
I created it myself.
Okay, yeah, so that may be one of the issues. The other thing is you don't use a V-bit for clearing out material. Right?
Okay.
So what you would have wanted to do in this case is you see how you got the inside top of the D, it's kind of a larger area. And then the bottom part of the D is a larger area. It's a wider area to clean out.
Yep.
Those right there, you should have done a rough pass and then finished it off with on the line with a V-bit cut on the line. And when I do that, I don't get those dog bones. But when you try to use your V-bit to clear out an area, think about it. The bit comes down to just a point, right?
Right.
The software is trying to calculate how many times it's got to go around there because it's not like a regular milling bit with a flat end, and it can say it's going to mill out exactly this much every path. So it's kind of confusing to the software to try to mill out, clear out inside space with the very point tip of a bit.
Okay.
So that's what I would say. I would maybe thin your lines up a little bit. The original drawing there, you try to make those paths not so big. But if you want to go ahead and clear out, you like that depth, then do a dual pass on it. Run it with maybe a 1/8 inch bit to do clearance, and then have your fine cut, do it with your V bit.
Okay. I think these lines, let me see here. Yeah, this line here that I've got highlighted is only an 1/8 inch tall total. So it would just be one line for the 1/8 inch bit, and then it would come along and cut the V bit along the outside edge. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, what you would do is you would do a 1/8 inch rough cut. You can even get a smaller bit. You got to slow way down to do it, but you can do a 1/8 inch rough cut. And then for the fine cut, the second pass, do inside the line, right? Or I'm sorry, do on the line in easel with a V-bit 90 degree or 60 degree.
Okay.
And what it'll do is then it's going to go around the very outside edge of those gray areas, and the tip of the bit will ride on the exact line that you have highlighted there. So it'll basically take that 1/8 inch bit, you know how it'll be a perfect square.
Mhm.
All it's going to do is 90 or put a 60 degree bevel on the wall.
Okay.
After it cleans it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. One more question in easel. Do I create two separate files so it cuts the whole thing out, finishes it with the rough cut bit, and then I replace the bit and run it again? Or
No, if you're on Pro, you can actually choose a multi-cut. It'll
Okay.
allow that, and you can just go ahead and choose bit A for pass 1, bit B for pass 2, and in easel, what it does is whenever it's done with the first pass, right, it'll go back to home and it'll sit there and wait for you to put in the new bit. And then you put the new bit in and you just hit play again.
okay, so it actually pauses in maker verse and just sits there and waits for input to start again.
Yeah, that's written
Okay.
in the G code if you're using the Pro version of easel. So it will do that.
Casey, and I had a question for that. And how do you zero that out?
So that's just what I was going to say. The next piece is how do you zero your bit? So what I generally do is I have a little printed piece that I have, a little square, and I know it's exactly 1 millimeter thick with my calipers, right? And whenever I do my first bit, I'll put it in, I'll zero my first bit. I'll push the bit down to that plastic piece, remove the plastic piece, and then lower my bit 1 millimeter. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then whenever I change out my bit, I will lower that. I'll use that plastic piece again, lower it down to that little plastic piece, lower the V bit, remove the V bit, and then lower it 1 millimeter. That way, it should be, I mean, you're going to be off a couple of microns. I mean, it's
Yeah,
nothing.
you're not going to notice it really.
Yeah,
So,
that's my homemade, I guess my homemade.
Homemade tool, homing.
Yeah, you guys know me. I'm always making little gadgets and gizmos, right? But that's what helps me. That way I don't have to, because if you do it by eye on the wood, sometimes even plywood, the surface isn't flat, right?
yep.
Nope.
So
No plywood is flat. Yeah.
sometimes it's a little deeper, sometimes it's a little higher. And when you're trying to do a double pass like this, if you have it off on your V groove, then what you're going to end up is the path that you cleared out. Your V grooves will be just a little bit deeper. So the inside where you cut your 1/8 inch rough cut, that'll actually be raised a little bit inside and it'll look kind of funky. So that's how I do it. And I generally find that it's pretty darn close for horseshoes and hand grenades, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I just made my own jig, my own leveling jig. That's it.
And if you don't know Casey, Casey's a famous YouTuber.
Oh yeah, he's already sent me his centering jigs for the bits. So yeah,
Awesome.
We've talked a few times. All right, that's great. I will definitely give those tips a shot. Thank you very much.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, if you need one of those, I've never sold one. I mean, I can make you one, but if you want a nice 1 millimeter thick flat jig, I guess position jig, I don't know what the hell to call it, but if you want something like that, I can print you one up and just message me and we can talk back and forth. Just keep in mind that actually tomorrow we're leaving for the Keys for a vacation. I won't be back until the 14th.
Oh no, that's okay. I think I can find something that's dimensionally stable enough that I could proxy for the same process.
What's really good for that is go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy magnets. Buy one of those little round silver magnets. They're generally very accurate. So you could just put just slide the little metal magnet underneath there or put it on your bit and just lower it until the magnet's sitting on the deck. Then you can remove the bit and lower it, use microns to check how thick the magnet is. Then you'll know exactly how far to lower that bit to make it flush with the wood.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you, Casey.
Yeah, man.
Any other questions?
Hi, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Hello. There, I'm there now. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Cheryl Hendrick. I was here about a month ago with my M2 cutter. We've just started with it. But my husband had medical procedures we had to do, so I had to disappear. And I'm just letting everybody know I'm back. I am having X-axis issues for the soft limit. I'm sorry, Z-axis, sorry. And I did put in a service ticket because that's what they told me to do last time, but I wasn't able to follow through. So I'm just checking back in, letting you guys know I'm here.
All right. Yeah, you can put a service ticket also, but you can remove the soft limits if you go into the calibration, into the settings, and there is a section that says soft limits, and it should have a 1, and all you gotta do is change to 0. But keep that in
Change
mind.
1 to 0 under the soft limit.
Yes, that is correct. But keep that in mind. The soft limits is basically so you won't have any, so your Z axis won't run off or your sled won't run off your board.
Right. Well, I'm not having that problem. The problem was that I've done 3 test cuts with it, just 3. The first one, it didn't break through the board. I reset my depths. That was fine. Second one, the depth still wasn't quite there. It didn't break through the skin of the board. That's fine. Reset it again. This was the 3rd cut. I jogged it over the machine. It ran the cut okay. It did not push through the board again. And this time, instead of homing, like lifting the bit up and homing like normal, it drug the blades through the board and letting it route along the way, all the way back home. So that was what I called about last time, and I couldn't fix that when I tried the calibration. My calibration was at 3.6%, so I thought that was pretty good, but apparently it's not quite good enough because now it won't let me even calibrate it without giving me the soft limit issues. So I'll try switching that number to 0 and see if that works.
Yeah, and then after you do that, then after you calibrate it, you can just put it back on. After you do
Okay.
your calibration.
That sounds good. I'll give that a try. No problem. Got no problems with the holiday weekend coming up, so you guys can do whatever you need to do. I'm not in a rush, so when y'all get back to me, that's fine. But I did already place a service ticket. I'm just letting you guys know.
Awesome. Sounds great.
So Cheryl, just a
Thank you so much. Have a great holiday weekend.
Of course, Casey has something to tell you. Go ahead.
So just a quick
Okay.
question. Whenever you're setting it up, are you using easel to set up your G code?
Yes, Easel Pro.
Okay. So in easel, whenever you're cutting plywood, I'm guessing,
Yes.
correct? Whenever you put in
Yeah, 5 mil plywood.
when you put in the thickness of your plywood, what are you putting in? Are you using
I'm putting it in millimeters.
Okay.
Metric, yeah.
Okay. And are you using calipers to measure your thickness of your plywood?
Yeah, but they're the handheld kind, they're not a digital one.
Okay. So that's what I found. It's not all plywood is the same thickness, even though you pull it off the same shelf. 3/4 inch plywood,
Okay.
never 3/4 inch. It's actually smaller. And I've bought sheets of
Sure.
plywood from the same shelf at Home Depot, and every one of them were different
Mhm.
thicknesses. So it's really
Okay,
important.
so the wood is not what they say it is then.
No, not even close. So that's why you cut. You say, hey, I want to go this thickness, right? And it doesn't go all the way to the board. That's because the board might be just a little bit thicker than what it originally was. It just left a little skin on the back. So whenever I do my cuts,
Exactly.
I always measure every board before I put it in, and then set my thickness to that exact whatever my calipers tell me. And then I always add about 2 millimeters to that. And what it does is it always cuts just through the plywood and just barely marks my spoil board on the back.
Well, I don't care about the spoil board. That's what that's there for.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
But-
that's great. Adding that 2 millimeter would definitely
Yep.
poke it through. So that
Yep.
would be a good answer for that.
Yeah, and what
Okay,
you'll
cool. I'll
end
give
up
that a
with-
try.
Yeah, what you'll end up with is your spoil board. Let me come over here real quick. Let me know when you can see this. Your spoil board will look
Gotcha.
like
You're
this.
right on my screen.
Yep. You see how I have just
Okay.
small cuts?
Yeah, just barely breaking the surface.
Yep. That way you know that it's going to cut through on every one of your cuts. It'll go all the way through, but you're not really tearing
That
up.
sounds great, Casey.
You're not tearing up your spoil board too bad, because that costs money to replace that too later, right?
Exactly. It can last another round. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh. Anybody else?
Did you
I have
see
a,
the? Oh, go ahead.
I have a basic question. Do you have any assemble panel frame for an XL frame for 12 foot?
So you're looking for,
Yeah, I'm trying to build a 12 foot frame. What I see, you have a guide that is just for standard. Do you have one for 12 foot frames to a
no, I
guide
think,
that I can use?
I think you could just adjust on the frame itself. You could just adjust your top and bottom board and just add the additional length to it, and then properly space out the centering brackets. I mean, that would work. You're not going but another foot on each side, I think. So 2 foot on each side, actually. So it's no big deal. The problem is going to be is if you have a 12-foot frame, the biggest you can go on your top beam is 12 foot. So you're going to have bottom corner accuracy issues because you don't have long enough chains to give you that extra pull on the angle.
Okay, I did order the 15-foot chain. Supposedly that one works for that 12-foot frame. Um, Now, buying the frame materials, will I need to take that in consideration when buying the 2x4 by 10 feet or 8 feet?
So hold on, I want to make sure that we're clear here. If you want to do the 12-foot top beam, you're still supposed to use a standard frame.
Okay,
And build a 12-foot frame to use a 12-foot top beam.
okay, that was my question.
Okay. Yeah, because if you build a 12-foot, let's say you wanted to cut 6 by 12-foot plywood or something like that, they do sell that. You can cut that, but then you're going to need an 18-foot top beam, maybe even 19-foot top beam, and the 15-foot chains that MakerMade offers are way too short to do something like that. You'd have to make your own chains. So if you want the 12-foot top beam, you still build a regular frame. It's still the 4x8 frame, which is fine. But you just need the 12-foot, your top beam, you need to buy a 12-footer instead of a 10-footer. And then you need those 15-foot chains that you ordered. Does that make sense?
Answer my question, yes. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Mike, unless you have something else, I mean, that's my understanding of it.
No, that's perfectly fine. That's perfect. And you said it way better than I would have.
Out of curiosity, is there anybody that's actually gone to make an M2 that cuts more than 8 feet by 4 feet? I see Matt shaking his head.
Yeah, I mean, the math is going to get a little bit funky on that. The triangulation calculation, when you go out past the 12-foot extended length top beam, everything kind of gets theoretical. So if somebody wanted to, you could. But what I see is if you wanted to buy the 6 by 12-foot plywood, it's well over $100 and some odd bucks a sheet. You just couldn't afford to do anything. It's so expensive. The wood, the material would be so expensive to cut that it's almost cost prohibitive.
Mhm. I have to agree to that.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious. It seems crazy. My one car garage definitely wouldn't handle that. So
Now there is somebody, I do see somebody on the Facebook page that they got to have a 10 by 15 foot board. They do stuff. They're in New Orleans, Louisiana, and they cut out big all kinds of stuff. Look on the Facebook page. I don't think they're too worried about accuracy because they're cutting out things like funky clown faces and weird shapes. So they're not worried about the accuracy and perfect corner cuts and things
No,
like that. But it is a giant setup. It's got to be every bit of probably, like I said, 12 foot tall by 15 feet wide. It is huge.
You don't think that's fun?
that sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's big. Matt, what are you working on lately?
You beat me to the question.
I made a sign out of the cedar that I had left over.
Nice. I like that.
Can you guys read that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks good.
I like that. I like that. Is that like you're going to make a little table and those are just shot glass holders or something, or?
Yeah, this is like you go to the bar and you get, the shots or whatever on the board. I saw a t-shirt with this logo on it, and I couldn't fit all the words on one board like this. So I got creative and I turned the whiskey 90 degrees and then put the holes there. And I have this big hole here for the bottle, so you can put it on the bottle itself.
Ah, sweet.
But yeah, that's what I've been working on. That's my latest thing. So Yeah, so I'm trying to, because I'm limited, you get only 5.5 inches here to here, and there's not that much text you can get in that thing. So I was trying to figure out how to make it, because this was a wordy, pun or whatever. Is it showing up right for you guys? Because it's backwards for me.
No, it's
Oh,
showing
good.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah. So anyways, it was a wordy pun, and I just didn't have that much space to play with. I could have tried to squeeze it all in here, but I just didn't like that. So I made it a little bit longer, and then I cut it and put it like that. So, but yeah.
Man, that's exactly what I need for my vacation starting tomorrow. Down at the beach. Only it needs to say margarita instead of whiskey.
Yeah. Well, I'll make some more of those, but yeah. That's what I've been working on. I also made I'm gonna have to go back to the office here pretty soon, so I made a platform that I can put on my desk to make my old desk at work a standing desk. So,
That's cool.
yeah, I've been cutting out stuff. I wanted to let you guys know, I don't have the box here right now, but I got a big router, so Casey can stop laughing at me with my little itty bitty router. So, but I went on a limb and tried a model that I hadn't seen anybody else use before. I got the Skill router, the 2.5 horsepower one, and it fits in the 91 millimeter clamp. Is that right? Is it 91 millimeter?
91.
Yes,
Yeah.
91.
I got that primarily because it has a digital display on it, and it tells you how fast the bit's rotating, and you can tell it. I mean, it's not a live number that it's updating, but you can tell it, I only want this speed. I've had problems on my router. It just has numbers 1 through 6, and I go to the website of some of these bits, and they say, okay, rotate them at 1900 RPMs or whatever. I don't know what 1900 is, so I have to go to the manual, look it up, and be like, well, I kind of think it's this, but I don't really know. So anyways, the Skill router, you can say it's hardwood or it's softwood, and my bit is this long, and then you can set the different levels, and it would tell you the speeds that it's running those at. And I thought that was actually pretty cool. So I was waiting until I saw it in the store so that I could see if it would fit the clamp. So I brought the clamp into Home Depot or Lowe's or something, and I saw if it fit that, and then I bought it. And it was only $135, and it comes with a plunge base. And I want to show you something else. So it comes with a plunge base and a regular fixed base. Again, $135. That's pretty good. I still haven't been able to find the DeWalt router at any of my local stores. It's like it's sold out all the time. But anyways, this Skill one came with this.
Desk
Got
collection.
a vacuum port here and a big plastic area and a cutout for the router head. Well, guess what this fits over?
Boom. There you go.
So you can put it there, and you can get it to where you can cover your hole there and screw it down with a couple of screws.
Yeah.
So that's my next project, is to try to figure that out, because I am getting a little dust, and I've tried with the bottle and the pipe clamp and everything, and that works out okay, but this would be okay too. So
You know what the key is, man? You need to purchase Casey's desk collection.
yeah, I know, but
See, look at all the stuff you're spending on, and then you're still getting dust. You just get, look at that. See?
well, I want to try to figure stuff out for myself sometimes. So I mean, no offense to Casey, I'm glad Casey's printing those out and making some money and whatever, but I just bought the router because I needed a bigger one, and it came with the clamp in it, or it came with that plastic piece in it. So I'm gonna see what I can do with that. Maybe I could figure something out. But if it fails or breaks, I'll be talking to Casey and getting a thing. So,
Yeah, I mean, all you need is a plug for that deck, and you put a plug on that deck, and then you should be able to screw that right down.
yep.
And I mean, you know, it depends on the CFM of your vacuum, of course, but
Yeah.
that's one of the nicer ones that I've seen because you can see through it. I'm one of those people that I still like to look at my bit when I'm cutting, right?
I do too, man. I
And those-
watch that thing the whole time. It's like I'm mesmerized,
Yep.
know?
Yeah,
So,
well, I'm always afraid it's going to do something like, you know, we were just looking at dust and stuff with the little dog bones that pop out, right? You don't know that until after it's cut 50 dang things. And then you're like, oh, crap. So I like to sit and I go over and I look at my bit, you know, quite often to see how it's cutting. And that mine has those windows in it and the light kits, and you can see everything real nice.
Mhm.
The one that Maker Made came out here, it's that white color, so you can't see it. It hides your bit, and so
Oh.
not only does the dust, it doesn't. I've tried it on the new M2. It doesn't collect dust very well, but you can't see the bit, so it's a double hitter for me. I like to be able to see my tip.
Yeah. 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 Well, I was just so if anybody's looking for a router and they don't already have one, this comes with the Skill 2.5 horsepower router. So you need the
Yeah.
bigger mount, but I was gonna get that anyways because I was having you know, I was worried that Casey's gonna laugh at me with using that little Harbor Freight deal. The Harbor Freight one actually lasted longer than that DeWalt, but now I actually have 3 clamps. I have the 71 or whatever that comes with the kit. I got the 65, and then I got 91. So I've got all 3 clamps for the thing.
Hey, I got the Harbor Freight one. I use that for hand routing a lot of times.
Yeah,
It's
and
light, it's small, easy to set up.
yeah,
If I go ahead, I'll make a design like I did the new vent intakes for my house. My wife wanted new cast iron vent intakes, air intakes for our AC. I
yeah.
built those, and on the edges around it, I used that the little Harbor Freight router bit on it. So it's easier to go ahead and cut out the primary shape and everything on the M2. And then for intricate roundovers and everything else, I just lay it on the table and grab that little Harbor Freight thing, and it takes me 3 minutes and I'm done, right?
Yeah. Well,
So-
and that's what I was planning on doing with it because you know, I have it's not smart to have the big router that you're using with, you know, on your table. So I put the big one on the machine, and then I have the little one where you can make the finer cuts. But I tell you what, man, I couldn't kill that Harbor Freight one. That one, it ran like a champ, and it never really bogged down. It was just fine. It's just I never understood.
Well, mine never bogs down, but man, it gets hot as hell. You're
Yeah,
holding on to it, man. You're after a little while, if you do probably 10 or 15 minutes of routing and holding it in your hand,
yeah,
I actually went and got a towel and wrapped around it because it was getting warm, but
yep,
it never bogged down. It never, you're right, it didn't miss a beat. It's solid. You don't got any wobble on the shaft.
yeah.
It's a decent little unit for, I think I paid $86 for it or something like that.
Right.
It's a decent little unit. You just, you need a pair of welding gloves to hold on to it while you're out.
I never tried grabbing it like that and running it that long. I mean, I've had it on the M2 for a while, but you're right. It gets hot and yeah, and there's no light. There's no LED on it too, so that the Skill has an LED and it's a little more powerful. So, anyways, I'm excited because now I can at least dial in the numbers a little closer and say, all right, I need 1900 RPMs for this. I still try to do it by ear though, because some of the bits I just don't know the speeds that they need to be run at. So I just kind of listen to how it and watch how it's cutting, and then kind of just guess and go from there.
But it's interesting. I like that idea because the digital readout or the digital adjustment with the thickness of the wood or the hardness of the wood and everything.
Yep.
I mean, Skill is coming really close to just creating a spindle, right?
Right.
I mean, that's almost what it is. It has a VFD in it that readjusts. I mean, digital adjustment. I mean, that's pretty cool for 100 and some odd bucks.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if you don't see, Skill making a killing in the market with that, and then DeWalt and all them following suit right behind them.
You're right. Yeah, but I seriously cannot find the whatever model the DeWalt one is, D611.
Yeah. So I was reading on the internet the other day. So the brushes and the little board for the VFD controller inside of the head of the DeWalt
Yep.
is made in China, and the company that makes those boards is shut down.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's funny, the people that make those boards is the same company that makes the computer boards that go in the primary module and the Ford F-250s.
Oh,
So, Ford F-250s are also becoming a little bit scarce for new models.
yeah. I
But
heard.
I mean, that's what you get for being that deep in bed with China, right? I mean, they shut down and your entire product line is done.
Yeah, I've
So-
heard there's a lot of backups for not only just the Ford, but a lot of other cars. The chips that they need in the cars are just not being made. So that causes delays even now, even though the delays they might be back up and running, they're still trying to fill all the orders from all the other stuff. So yeah, that's tough. But I figure a lot of DIYers are getting that DeWalt one because people have other, CNC machines that use it. I see it's very popular router. So.
Well, I think it's the popular router. And the reason why I think it's popular is if you look on all the other CNC sites as well as MakerMade, everybody states that one router. Go
Right.
to XCarve, go to any one of them, and they say, oh, it's made for the DeWalt 611.
Yeah.
So all of these companies have made that DeWalt primary purchase item for their CNC. Instead of saying, hey, here's a list of routers you can use, they just say the DeWalt, right? And DeWalt's the one that benefits from that. But it's funny that like the Makitas, the boards for the Makitas are made in Japan. So you can go to any store today and buy a Makita.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I wanted another small router for the new M2 that I'm playing with. So I actually got the Makita, the little 1 horsepower Makita for that one.
What
And
clamp size is that?
I was able to pick that up at my local Home Depot.
Okay. What clamp size?
That's the 72 millimeters.
Okay. 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 Because I bought a Bosch Colt and it just barely was too big, so that was not a good idea on my part. I should have brought the clamp to the store.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. And I'll share that when I got my M2 in May, there was a big shortage of the DeWalt 611, and it was just one Ace Hardware in the Kansas City metro that I could find it at. And I drove straight out that night, bought it, because I did not want to have to mess with dealing with the different clamp sizes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to start as a default for M2 since I was starting at ground level at that point. So
yeah, Dustin, there's nothing wrong with that. But I've been to Home Depot, I've been to Lowe's, I went to my Ace Hardware, and they said that they had some in online, but they didn't. And I've been back to them a lot of times now, and I always walk by the router aisle, and I never see any DeWalts there. So
yep. Yeah, I had the same thing. Home Depot,
Yeah.
Lowe's, they all were out of it. I was just looking online as you were talking, and it looks like stock are starting to come back,
yeah,
but they are 139 now.
yeah, and
So
you know,
your digital version looks really nice. So,
yeah, that skill works really great so far, and I'm happy with it. But it does require you to buy another clamp, so there's cost in there. But $130, you get the plunge base, you have this fixed base, you get the dust collection stuff, and it's a pretty decent router. And with the digital readout, I thought it was a deal. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering when they're going to come out with I know MakerMade was coming out with a spindle drive design. And when they were, promoting the laser and everything on that live web event that they had, they actually showed it. They didn't show it for very long, but they showed a spindle mount that was, going in. It doesn't have the clamps or anything. I think it just bolts directly up. But
Okay.
I'd really like to see some updates on that. I'm not sure how well the laser went over. Yeah, I haven't heard. I don't see anybody on the Facebook page talking about the lasers at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to get the laser. I just can't convince my wife to. put down that investment quite yet. I got to sell something first.
Well, that's just it. I mean, those lasers are really expensive, right? I mean, you pay $1,100 for the M2, and then for a laser that will cut 1/8 inch plywood, if you wanted to cut out simple designs and stuff, that's another 700 and some odd bucks just for the laser. So you're up to almost $2,000 in total cost when all is done.
Yeah, Dustin, you mentioned you had to sell something first. Copyright Matt Bruzek 2021.
No, don't worry. I'm actually developing a loom and a spinning wheel with my wife. She does the textiles, the fibers and stuff. So we're putting that together. So
Cool.
hopefully someday I'll have something.
You can copy this whatever you need. It's not I can't stop you. So just fun stuff. I've been building a lot of stuff with it. So I'm a woodworker, so I'm really trying to focus on what the router or the CNC does better than with me. So I'm truly trying to come up with complex shapes and things like that I can't easily cut out on a with woodworking tools. I have a nice bandsaw and everything, and I could kind of get some of these shapes, but not accurate or as nice as these CNC. So I've really been, when I'm designing my stuff, I'm trying to focus, like I can already do that with woodworking. I don't want to make another, thing. I want to make something that, that the CNC is good at, right? Not me. So, does anybody know where you can get like that plastic board? I was on vacation just a couple weeks ago, and they have that, they had some chairs that were made out of that recycled plastic board, and it looked like it'd been cut by a CNC. And I just haven't been able to find sheets of any, large size anywhere, but I thought maybe.
So I don't know where you live, but I live in the KC metro area, and there's a company that I think it's nationwide called Regal Plastics.
Okay.
At a previous job, we used to source a lot of our materials, a lot of the plastics, the styrenes. I can't remember some of the other stuff. It's been over a decade since I did it, but they are the place, and I've already contacted them about getting like samples and stuff.
Okay.
They're a good company to work with.
Yeah. Say the
You
name.
want to put that in the chat?
Yeah, I'll try to find a link for it. Hang on just a second.
Yeah, I live in the Houston area, up I guess on the other side of Houston, other than Casey. So I'm still trying to find a good, source of material. I saw on the Maslow forums something called Exia is sold in northern Houston, but it's a good hour drive for me. But I'll go and see. They'll sell complete sheets, but it doesn't sound like that maybe would be very good for structural stuff. It's like somebody quoted it as like MDF but out of plastic, so it'd be good for like outdoor signs, but maybe not outdoor furniture. So that's kind of what I'm looking at doing, is outdoor furniture. And Texas is brutal on anything outdoors. I don't care if it's furniture, your car, or your house. It's brutal on anything. So I'm trying to get some of that real plastic board and then cut something out on CNC of that.
Yeah, what you're looking for there, Bud, is you're looking for PVC sheets.
Yep.
That's what you need. Don't use Lexan, don't use the LPC, don't use any of that crap, because that stuff will degrade faster than any other plastic. The industrial grade PVC, like your tubing, your pipes and stuff, it's made for chemical corrosion. It's got some heat resistance to it, right? Hot water, etc. So what you specifically want to look for is sheets of PVC material.
Okay. Are you able to source any, Casey? Any?
I have not looked at it yet. I got so many darn projects in my head I'm wanting to do that I just, one of those, because I actually, I told you guys I liked building kayaks, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to try to use the laser to cut out some kayak forms and then build some kayaks out of 1/8 inch. And then I sat there about 2 weeks ago and I was thinking, if I buy some sheets of PVC, man, I'd have one hell of a kayak. It'd be heavier, but man, that'd be awesome. Then I started thinking, but then I'd have to seam weld everything together. You can't, so it'd be epoxy and sanding. I don't know. I'd have to think about it in my head to see how the hell I would do that.
Yeah, but as I understand, and I don't have Facebook, so I understand you make furniture for outdoors, like rocking chairs and stuff.
Yeah, I've made a couple.
Okay.
It's mostly, well, whenever I do that, I use a glue up table and I'll create my own sheets, or I just use plywood and I glue the plywood together and then round the edges.
Okay.
And I rarely stain anything. I paint it solid. I'll usually paint it solid white or something like that. So
Okay.
if I did have to use wood filler on, plywood isn't perfect. It has some gaps in it. So sometimes I can put it on there. But yeah, I mean, it's easy to do. I mean, it's just a simple design, right? You can use any of those Adirondack chairs,
Mhm.
and you can actually convert them to a simple dog bone. And
Yeah.
then you could just have a snap together puzzle that you can glue and put a couple of screws in instead of the original design that takes a pound of screws and everything else.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to do something like that, but I just know that Texas will just destroy it. So I want to get something with PVC or something like you said that'll last. And I've been to some outdoor furniture store here, and they've got it made out of real thick plastic, and it looks to me like it's CNC cut. So I just want to see if we can if normal folks can get a hold of that material. So
Yeah, I have some neighbors around here that have pools, and in Texas, the big thing is saltwater pools, right? That way you don't have to deal with the chlorine, the chemicals, and everything.
yeah.
The problem is anything metal that you have outside on your deck, it's going to rust. I mean, just the humidity coming off of that saltwater pool, it's going to corrode anything that's metal, your barbecue pits, metal tables, chairs. So a lot of people, they build PVC chairs. So they build them out of 1.5 inch or 2 inch PVC pipe. And what I've been doing is I've been printing little connectors, little T connectors and X connectors, and I just give them to them for free because hell, we get to use their pool too. But that way they can snap they can use regular PVC from Lowe's or Home Depot,
Mhm.
and then the little connectors, 45s and stuff that you'd never find in a store.
Yeah.
I just print out those little connectors for them. So
That's
now
cool.
you have that 2 inch PVC. I mean, it'll hold several hundred pounds. I mean, it'll hold a big person.
Yeah,
It's pretty
that's a pretty
tough.
good idea. That's a
Yep.
good idea. Yeah. I've noticed I live so close to Galveston. I noticed that, everything here is rusting. I had some bicycle chains that rusted solid. You know how the derailleur has a
Yep.
little Z in it?
Yep.
Well, I rotated the pedal and the Z kind of followed, through there. And my chain was just rusted solid. And I'm like, I've never seen stuff rust so hard here. So, like I said, everything outdoors is just brutal. So,
Yep. Yep. I agree.
okay. Well, thanks. I don't mean to take up any more time. I just wanted to, I knew you guys had asked what I've been working on. And so I got my whiskey sign out.
Yeah, it's nice. I like that. You need to go around to a few bars, especially down there in the Galveston area. I mean, people get a kick out of that. Put Margaritaville on there, and I bet you'd get several bars that buy 5 or 6 of them. There you go. See, nice. I like it.
I put the Regal Plastics link in the chat. It looks like there's a couple different companies that are called Regal Plastic, because the one here in Kansas City doesn't appear to be in Texas, but the one I put the link in is in Texas. There's one in Houston. Also, I'll mention, I don't know if you've heard it before, Delrin, or I think it's called acetal is the more generic term for plastic. It cuts similar to wood. It's a little bit more stable and less prone to melting. I don't know if it would be a good source for outside use, like what you've been talking, but it might be something to look into.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good point.
That other stuff that you're talking about, acetabutyl. My engineering brain is going nuts. Acetobutylbaling or something like that. That stuff there, it doesn't do well in heat. So it might be okay for UV resistance, but the instant you sat on it and it was 110 degrees, the person would just slowly sink and under the weight, right?
Nice.
So
Okay.
again, I think the best thing to go for is something like a PVC. And then it's going to be expensive, because if you want to build chairs out of the PVC, it's going to have to be, at least half inch thick PVC. It's going to be pricey. It'll be pricey. Yeah.
Yeah. I bought some, I'm not familiar with those names, but I bought some HDPE and it's high density polyethylene maybe.
Yep, yep.
And I saw Adam Savage on YouTube. He built like articulating knuckles out of that Delrin or HDPE. And so I bought some of that in hopes to cut it. But somebody also said it's like cutting board material. So I went to Walmart and bought some 97-cent cutting boards. Those cutting boards are not that material.
No.
I put that under the M2 and I cut some pieces out and it just melted. I mean, it just melted whatever, wherever the bit was near, because it was, you know, the bit would get hot and it was a mess to cut. So pro tip, don't get those cheap cutting boards. There might be like more expensive ones out there, you know, that are HDPE, but I bought some HDPE on Amazon or whatever, and I got big sheets of it and you can get it like up to an inch or two thick. So, but I was thinking about making those out of like something mechanical out of that would be kind of fun, but I didn't get very big boards that, you know, maybe only 2 feet or something like that. But I thought maybe some gears or some mechanical thing out of that would be kind of fun. So
Yeah, HDPE is actually designed to be a wear material. So it's used for washers on the gears. Don't use them for gears because they won't last long. And the teeth will just wear down really quick. But the washers and spacers and bushings on gears, that's what that stuff is for.
okay.
It actually has an oil base, a petroleum base. So it's kind of, it adds lubricity as it wears down. It actually lubricates. So it's, you know, it's not something you want to use for a chair because you'd sit on it and you might, it might stink or smell after a while, but that's what HDP is for.
Good to know. I didn't know that. Thanks.
I see Pepe.
Yes, hello. I'm here from Germany. Hello.
Hey, Jeremy.
And yes, I'm just a beginner and just purchased a machine a week ago. And yes, some issues with to get the center point. But I think I will try within the upcoming week, and then I coming back with some further questions.
Yeah, no problem. That's what the forum is here for, right?
Yeah.
If you need help set up, need any ideas on you know, how we do the measurements on the boards. So have you been to my YouTube site that helps you properly measure your offsets and your levels and your motor distances and everything to ensure you have good accuracy?
Sorry, I don't get it all.
So,
you-
so whenever you're doing your calibration, have you already done your calibration?
Yes, I've done my calibration, but I have an issue with, yes, maybe I can write a mail if it's possible to show where I see maybe where's the issue, because the software is a little bit newer that the software on the videos, and yes, there are some buttons missing, and maybe I have to try a little bit at the next days, and yes, then I will come back with further questions.
Casey's got some videos that helped me do some calibration and stuff. So if you search on YouTube for the M2, he's got some pretty good videos that tell you in English, of course, how to measure and calibrate.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What time is it over there where you're at right now? Pepe? What time is it where you're at right now?
Sorry, I don't understand.
What time is it?
What time zone? What time is it over there?
Time, no, it's 7, near to 7 in the evening.
In the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's good.
I put a link to Casey's YouTube channel in the chat. So you just have to click on that and go to it.
There you go.
Yeah, it looks to me like you have it set up or very, very close. You know, you've got the frame built and You don't have any bricks in there yet, but it looks to me like you're very close to getting it running. So yeah,
Okay, thank you.
good luck.
Thanks a lot. Okay, then coming back next week.
All
All
right.
right, we'll be here.
Hey, Lauren, you working on anything there with the business? You got anything going on?
Oh, I've got quite a few things going on, but yeah, I had to take missed last week. I had a fun little incident, put a little dent in my skull, so I spent a day in the hospital last week. But I did get this back up and running. It's running better than ever. Just a little that power issue. I know we discussed that. Yeah, I was curious just to see, has anybody see any advantage to running straight bits versus spiral bits?
So the rule of thumb is actually, if you look at the information, spiral bits is for solid wood, straight bits are supposed to be for plywood. You look at different websites and different engineers will tell you different things, but the reality is a straight bit, especially the double fluted straight bits, those are what I would use on any type of a wood material. If you have those, they're preferred over. It's 12 o'clock. The spiral bits is what I would use on polymer materials, or in this case, also harder aluminum materials. But the straight fluted bits, the double fluted straight bits, they're designed to be run at a lower speed, which if you look at most of your materials that you have, like plywood and stuff, you don't run those things at 30,000 RPMs, which is what most routers are rated for, right? You run them at 10 to 15.
Right.
So they're run at a lower speed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been playing with a lot of feeds and speeds. I got Carbide Create up and running really well. Been using a V-bit from Mana Tools, and it was one of those replaceable blades, V-bits. I don't know if you've ever played with those.
Yeah, they're about 125.
Well, no, I got mine for like 30 or 40. The
Okay.
replacement bits are like 10 or 15 a piece. But I just basically plugged it in straight out of the box and started running, and I was like, this thing is not working right. And I glanced at the bit as it was running, and realized the blade wasn't lined up to the tip. So it was basically just cutting a flute out instead of like actually a point.
All right, Lauren. So the issue with yours was the power. It was the power.
Yeah, fixed it right up. As soon as I plugged it in, power went back to the motors and we were running fast again. I don't know who has access to the, I know we kind of talked about the change in the software. But if they could add an undo button to the program, that would be incredibly amazing.
An undo for what function?
While they're at it, why don't they just add an easy button?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was completing a cut and I was returning it to home to hang it back up so that I could, pull it off the wasteboard. And instead of hitting return to machine home or go to machine home, I said set machine home. And so basically that you had to reset and do your recalibration. I was just like, man, if I could hit an undo button there, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I cut one of my larger pieces this week. It's like a 48 by 24 giant custom name. Very clean. It was surprisingly, I did 2 names back to back, and I was lazy, Casey. Don't judge me too much. And I went straight and I just basically reset the chains, went back and hit it again, and it cut very, very precise once again. I was surprised I didn't have to go through the full calibration like I intended to. I even did another test circle and it cut within less than a 32nd of an inch all the way around.
Hey, that's pretty good.
So
That's good. That's good. The kind of the reset chains, when you do the reset chains and you do the up, it works pretty good, huh?
yeah, so the win to it is when you hit the reset the chains that I've noticed is you basically hit reset chains, or basically line up the top, what do you call it? One sprocket vertical,
Uh-huh.
get it up. And as soon as you hit reset change from that point, you still have to drop down about 3 millimeters to get back to your dead center, especially when you're running an oversized wasteboard like I am. But then it locks it in, and it was right back to perfect. I was expecting it to be off, and I'd be like, oh, I'll go through the calibration, but I was like, it doesn't hurt to run a test and go for it. I was curious also, has anybody run any 1/32 bits?
So I had it was a 1/32. This was 6-7 months ago. And I was actually running at 5 inches or 8 inches per second, and I freaking broke the bit. So
It's that slow, huh? Yeah, because I saw them online, and I was like, man, that'd be awesome to get some crazy detail like that.
Oh yeah, I think those are good for carving, right? Because you're just using the tip of the bit, going fine over details. But for the M2, where you're actually cutting, your cut depth is basically the width of a human hair, and you have to slow it down so much. And
that was what I was looking at.
I was at 5 or 8 inches per minute on my feed rate, and I still broke the bit. And I bought a set of 3 of them, and I messed with those things for an entire day. I blew an entire day on them. Finally, I took them, threw them in the trash, and said never again.
Yeah, so I actually got a whole bunch, should be arriving today. I'm kind of excited. I brought basically $300 in business funds on bits and such to put in a nice little setup. A bunch of 3 different 1/2-inch bits. One on my, I don't know if y'all ever cruise Amazon. You'll sometimes find companies that are basically like startup companies, and it's hit or miss on the product of the bit. But I'm like, hey, it was like 15 to 20 bucks for a 1/2-inch.
Yeah. Give me about another month or two, and I have my finished product already.
Even for bit?
Yeah, for bits. I'm gonna have several bits, man. It's a compression bit. There's a few of them that I'm gonna have. There's some nice ones, a tapered bit as well, and probably a V bit. So yeah, one of my cousins actually owns a machine shop over here. He's a machinist, so he does all sorts of things, and so he makes his own bits. So I'm gonna have him make me some. And
yeah, I like the support.
I'm excited about that. Actually, I have some samples that we made already. Let me see if I can show.
I mean, if you need somebody a tester, you know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to shoot them my way. Hint, hint.
Hey, Lauren, what material are you using to make those signs? You're using MDF, or what are you using?
So it depends on the customer. I was telling them a couple weeks ago when I was last able to jump on here, we have a local distributor that gets us, basically cuts out the middleman, and we're getting it depending on the customer, right? So if customer is going to be a painted product and not a stained, I usually go MDF all the way down to a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. And then if they want a stain, then we either go a 1/2 inch. We do have some 1/4 inch stain products, or stain, or a 1/4 inch plywood. But as you know, 1/4 inch plywood is incredibly weak. So we have the customer that insists they want it and they don't want any backing. And I warn them, like, look, you break your product, it's on you. Like, I would not use this, and I always kind of have that conversation. I've also cut it out of acrylic. I've done some cuts like that. So you have the like a wild backlit acrylic. I just like playing around with it. There's always the problem. I usually recommend customers when they do any kind of product, I usually I don't know. A lot of times I use Inkscape. Inkscape has a function to quickly grow the thickness of your design by, I think it's an 1/8 inch at a time. So 1 or a 1/16 of an inch on either side, approximately. It's not perfect. I don't like to cut anything less than an 1/8 inch thick. An 1/8 inch thick is to me, usually I aim for at least a 1/4. But it depends on the customer. If they demand it and they want it, I'll cut it to specs. But I always give them that warning, like, hey, it's your money. I'll give you structural, my structural recommendation. Most of the time, it's a 1/4 inch thick. The one that I cut that was 48 inches by, I want to say it was 20 inches tall. It cut out in about 35 minutes is what it took. And I kept everything no less than a 1/2 inch, almost 3/4 inch thick. I don't have a picture of it yet. My wife was finishing the painting and everything today, over the next day. But the fun thing is it took me about 45 minutes of total work time, and we sold it for 75, $80. So not like I'm making a huge profit, but I'm making her, I'm like, hey, I'm making $25 an hour at a minimum. And that the rest of it goes back to the company. So
that's good. Well, good deal. I'm just curious. You're cranking them out. You've got different, needs and stuff. I'm just, with the price of wood going, up so high, I'm just looking for alternate materials. Maybe it'd be cheaper to buy PVC sheets. But
well, PVC sheets, I don't know how much we get them here at Home Depot for $70 to $75 a sheet. But we're currently getting MDF sheets here for $14 a sheet for 1/2 inch. Wow. And we get our 3/4 inch plywood for 38. And it was down about 30, but that's directly from a distributor. So the only thing is the downside, and you work around it, right? Is when you get it from a distributor, it comes palletized. So there is no like, hey, I'm picking through the sheets. Cause as you know, it's, the good thing is if you ever go to Home Depot, I'm sure you've seen the plywood is not real birch plywood. It's like 7 layers thick and it's filled with a composite material in the middle. This is the real 11-layer plywood. So it's the quality stuff, but you do have blemishes. We just work around it. And if we got to use it, if it's got a blemish in it, we try to find a customer that wants a painted product versus a stained product. Yeah. But the big thing is I'm getting into the V groove. So Carbide Create's turning into a lot of fun trying to get my settings dialed in. I've done some pretty detailed stuff with my V bits. So I'll be growing that. And I'll probably have some discussion points as I really refine that process.
So you just started using Carbide Create?
Yeah, you were the one that recommended it actually, Mike. And I started playing around with it and testing it.
It's pretty neat, huh? It's pretty neat, huh?
Yeah. Where you make your money is that V-carve, that V-carve function. And it's surprisingly, I would have never used it. I would not recommend V-carve for anyone running a jump start system or anything with a slow Z-axis. Yeah. But with that improved Z-axis, man, that thing's a win. It was cutting. It cut. So I was doing basically testing stars. Because that's a common V-carve cut, and a 2-inch V-carve cut was taking about a minute a piece. But I was running it quite slow. I was running it at like 10 to 15. So I could have sped it up quite a bit. But for my tests, I obviously didn't want to push anything. So yeah, it's pretty impressive. I think I could get them, I could cut an American flag out, just the star section, probably within, I'm going to say comfortably 30 to 45 minutes. If I pushed it a little faster. Yeah. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to test that out and kind of have those conversations moving forward. At the end of the day, yes, it's one of those. It's not very user friendly, if I'm gonna be honest. Like you got to know what you're looking for. It's meant for Shapico and what was the other one? Nomad cutting machines.
Yes.
So it takes the time to like get to know GRBL and then plug in your custom bits. That's what I realized after a little bit of like just basically running off their templated stuff and going back in and I went to the website that I bought my bits from, got all the specific stuff on them, plugged it into all my own bits. So now that it's running the way I want it to run. Exactly. I think I don't remember who turned me on to BCNC to look at the coding. You got to check that coding. It's not a perfect system to get it right. But like I said, I wish I'd have taken a picture. I didn't. But I did I don't know if anybody knows what the transportation core for the Army looks like. I did one of those. It took me 10 minutes to cut out one, and it looked I was very happy. I was like, man, and most, I mean, if y'all have seen Army emblems or things like that, they're usually pretty intricate. Cut it out very quickly and easily. So I've got another one that I'm about to cut this afternoon. I'm gonna make me a giant one for one of the guys in my unit. It's basically essentially a giant wooden flag guide-on like piece. It'll be, I think I measured it out at 20 inches by 30 inches. It'd be a pretty good sized piece, and it'll be a fun one to take a picture of when I'm done getting it all painted up. But yeah, I've got quite a few things that I'm kind of, my wife gave me some spending money, a little tax refund action. So I do her. She gave me a little bit of it, so we're gonna turn it up a notch.
That's awesome, guys. All right, guys. Well, we went a little bit over, guys. If y'all have any other last minute questions, let me know. If not, we'll see you next week.
Hey, Mike, those bits look good. I'm interested too.
All right, sounds good. Give me about a month or two, and I should have them going, man. So they're nice. So I haven't cut them yet. I got them maybe a few days back, and I just haven't cut with them yet. So
they look good. They look
Hey,
good.
Casey, real quick. If I send you a 360 Fusion file that I was gonna basically, I was looking at basically our FreeCAD file, a dust collection concept. Are you able to print those out?
Is it a DXF file?
I think so. I have to double check. I just had basically mocked up some stuff. I'm still learning some of the FreeCAD systems. I hadn't played with it too much. Just played more SketchUp kind of actions, but I know FreeCAD's a little better of a software once you get better at it.
Yeah, I mean, I use Google SketchUp primarily. So if you send it as a .dwg file or a DXF, even better, then I can open those in.
I mean, I'm sure I could go back to SketchUp and mock it up. I have used SketchUp pretty extensively. That dust collection system is just trash.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's been talking about that. No matter what system that you have, the M2 just didn't come out with a very good dust collection. I know mine is expensive, but the reality is most of the people that buy my system are people that have businesses like you. They cut 24/7. They're always cutting, right? Those are the people. I mean, the people that play with it on the weekend, they usually don't see the value in having such a precise dust collection. But people that use their systems for businesses, home businesses, they're the ones that buy those.
Yeah, I'll probably be reaching out to you. I was going to look at some things. I was trying to hold off on spending that kind of money because I almost, when you said, "Hey, I have this extra one," you don't know how many times I almost was like, "Hey, send it to me. I got you." But I was like, maybe I'll hold off for a minute. But it's very annoying having to clean up every time so much dust. So I'm realizing those minutes are turning into hours.
Yep, that's what I realized. And I know, like I said, I know it's pricey, guys, but people need to realize that I have, by the time I'm done printing and assembling, I have just one dust collection. I have over 60 hours of print time in it. Plus I have over $40 in material costs for the PLA, the bolts, the nuts, the PVC, the Lexan plastic glass that's used for the windows. So, I mean, the reason why it's so expensive is that's what it takes to build one like that. I don't make a lot of money off of those. I never actually intended to sell them. I just was going to sell the file, the .stl file for printing. But a ton of people are coming back saying, "I don't have a printer to print this. Can you print one for me?" So that's kind of where that all started, was people just wanted a printer to do it.
No, for sure. And trust me, I fully understand. I'm as a maker like you, like I got it. Like, people do not understand the hours you put in to get it there, or the equipment. And as a lot of people that make woodworking products, the customers are always like, "Hey, why can't it be cheaper?" They don't understand the hours that go into it. Hence the reason why a lot of like, they're going to paint it, they're going to get an MDF product that I've sealed, because they'll never know the difference.
This thing right here, I don't know if you guys can see this very well. This is a iPad, a dash mount for an iPad 12.9. I have the big iPad Pro, and I use this for GPS while I'm driving in our big Class A coach. It can sit clear over on the dash, and I can see it. My old eyes can't see those little GPS units. So I built this, and it's got all the swivels. It's got all the connectors. I can swivel it and pivot it in any way, shape, or fashion. But I mean, this right here was 14 hours of print time.
Yep.
I mean, it is not simple. And that doesn't include the design time I spent in Google SketchUp trying to get everything measured perfectly. And it's adjustable. So the sides adjust. And basically I'll clamp this down. These right here, I'll bolt them down. And then I'll just be able to slide the top. You can see that. I'll just be able to open it up, pull my iPad out and push it back down. So, I mean, that's, you know, those little things like that. It takes a lot of time, effort to design and build and print. And then I can't tell you how many prints didn't work out. So
exactly. You know how many times, I'm sure you did a lot of them, and that's all time.
Yep. Yeah. Whenever I design something, I can be a little anal. If it doesn't just fit right, then I go in, throw that piece away, go in and redesign it, and then reprint it until finally I get something that I like and work with. But I mean, this is what we do, right? That's who we are. We're makers. We figure it out ourselves. And I could have bought something like this on Amazon for the 12.9 for a dash mount that has the 3M adhesive, so it's solid. I can buy something like this for 140 bucks. Well, if I don't include my time, materials on this might have been $30, but it's the time, right? 12 hours of printing, designing, everything else. So that's, you know, I always joke with my wife, that's who we are. We're makers, right? That's what
it's the satisfaction. It's the satisfaction of being, this is mine. I did it on my own. And not only that, it's perfect. And when you buy something from Amazon, I can't tell you how many times I bought something, I've got it, and I immediately have buyer's remorse because I'm like, look at the slap, look at the problems with this thing. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. Yeah, I definitely understand. Have you tried looking into building molds for vacuum sealing?
So you can, I mean, you can, vacuum molds are good for like silicone and stuff like that. High pressure injection molding is more for ABS, but you need the setup to do that. So otherwise all you get is voids and everything. So
yeah, I was just looking at I was looking at that product that you're making because I was like, man, that is an intense build for dust collection and such. And when I was looking at that, I was like, man, if he was doing a built a mold to basically vacuum a stamp, because that's really what it is when you're vacuum molding, is you're stamping out with plastic. I was like, that may be a cheaper way to go and much less time for you, but that's building, once again, you're back to several hundred hours developing the plans to develop those vacuum molds.
Well, not only that, but like if I went to China and wanted them to go ahead and, you know, build a mold and then do pressure injection molding, use ABS for that, you know, you can manufacture 30 or 40, or they usually want to sell you 1,000 to 1,500.
Right.
Again, that thing is so specialized. I think year to date, not year to date, but since I designed those and started selling them, I think I've sold 25 of them. I mean, it's a very small population that wants things like that. And if I was to go to China and say, hey, build a mold for this, the mold is $50,000.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, it's just easier to print it out myself and just call it good. And yeah, that's what I do. It's faster, easier. It might take a week for me to manufacture one, but I have never had any of the people that have bought it come back and say, you know, it doesn't work for this. Actually, I've had people text me and email me and say, this thing is awesome. It's great. Thanks. I should have bought it earlier. I should have done this a long time ago. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I was one of those people. I was tired of cleaning everything up. And I have a big air filter. I don't know. You can see it on my roof up here. It's a big jet. It's a 1100 CFM air filter. And I would spend $13 a pop changing the filters out on that just about every weekend because I would cut and it would just plug it up, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it becomes cost prohibitive after a while. So that's when I thought I just need to build something that works. And what I built works. It took me about 10 versions of it, but it works. And
How much are you selling it for now?
it's still the same. It's 160. That's for
Okay.
complete assembled. That's with the Lexan, all the hardware. And it also comes with the PVC pipe that comes down and it goes to a 2-inch exhaust. And then you have to figure out, everybody's got different piping to their vacuum. So, whatever.
Yeah, but buying the tube is what it is. Yeah, I'm going to be having that conversation with my wife. So don't be surprised if I reach out to you and be like, hey, how many weeks out do I need? But I know you're going to be out of town here soon. So.
Yeah, I'll be leaving. I won't be back until the 14th, and whatever your order time is, just, give me a heads up and, I'll get one printed up. And it takes me, like I said, it takes me about a week to completely assemble, manufacture, print, the whole 9 yards. And then I always ship FedEx because I want everybody to have a tracking number. So in that 160 is $30 for FedEx shipping. So that's another chunk of the money that's gone right there. So actually I sell them for 130 minus shipping. Then it's 100 minus the materials I have to put into it. And then after print time, electricity, the heat on the printer, I probably make $30 off of these things. It's nothing. It's not a lot of money.
No, I'm with you. Trust me. I'm not the kind of guy to complain about true craftsmanship. I fully understand the effort that goes into it. From one maker to another. So, all right. I know Mike's like, we need to get off of here. But no, I'll be hitting you up soon. It's good to talk to everybody.
Yeah,
All right, guys.
Have a good one.
All right. Until next week, guys. Bye.
Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Bye.